Sometimes in life you are at a crossroads and you realize that you really need to make a major life change. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why I moved to Miami, Florida 1 year ago and some of the pros and cons of living here. Let's get started. Now, let's get into why I moved into Miami. So I have this motto. I'm living life like I'm on vacation. You can look at my Instagram and you see it right there as a quote. And that was literally before I moved here. I want to give you just a little background of how I got here. So years ago, I quit my job. I am particularly happy today just because today is the last Monday that I will have to set foot in corporate America. I then left Atlanta to move to Thailand. Fast forward about a year later, I moved back to Chicago. I was still deciding, did I want to move to LA or move back to Atlanta? And honestly, LA was the leading candidate. However, fast forward to April of 2001, that is when I visited Miami for the very first time. I visited South Beach in my 20s several times. Coming to Miami was a whole different vibe. Within 15 minutes, I was ready to move here, to be perfectly honest. And when I tell you I instantly fell in love, I really did. So while on vacation in Costa Rica, the idea hit me, said, you know what? Let's move to Miami. Let's give it 6 months to a year. If you hate it, move to Atlanta. If not, then enjoy life. And when I tell you December 1st, I hit the city running. It was my birthday weekend, it was Founders Day weekend, it was Art Basel. It was just so much in one weekend. I've probably never had as much fun in 1 week in my entire life. And it helps that my best friends came down to help me celebrate my move and my birthday. Let me drop a few pros and cons on you of living in Miami. Number one pro for me is the weather. I am a very outdoorsy person and I love fresh air. I love nature. I like being outside in it. Being here is a no-brainer. And I get to see the sun almost every day. I have SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder. So when I am in gray and cold and kind of wintry conditions, I do not feel my best. I'm very low energy. I'm not really that productive. So moving into an environment like this has really eradicated all glimpses of sad. The next pro is beauty. One thing I can say about Miami and South Florida is most things and even the people are beautiful. It just makes me feel good just being in that environment. Walking around, driving through the neighborhoods. Sometimes I'm in awe. Even going to the gym or visiting the local establishments or the bars or the restaurants, it's just like, wow. The water, the houses, the landscapes, the parks, the buildings, some of these cars, all the art that's everywhere. It's just amazing. The next pro is it's pretty safe in the, I guess, middle and nicer areas of Miami. I can't speak for the other areas because I really haven't frequented them very much. Most of the city is pretty safe and not a ton of crime. Now here is probably one of the biggest pros for me is the cost of living versus quality of life. Some of our larger cities have very high cost of living, but the quality of life is bad because of the crime, because of the weather, because of certain laws that may be a little restrictive for some people. The one thing about Miami is people visit and come and move here for a reason. Because when you're here, you have a very high quality life. Now, don't get me wrong, the cost of living is high, but I don't feel bad paying for my quality of life. Here are what could be labeled as cons, but I like to say what I just find missing here in Miami. Now, there's one thing about Miami that drives me absolutely crazy, and it's a humongous con for me. It's the traffic. My God, when I tell you I have never been to a city with more persistent and constant traffic every single place that you go. I'm not exaggerating. If you do decide to move here, one piece of advice I can give you about traffic is to make sure that you move to a place that does not require a car. Living in a walkable neighborhood will make your experience 10 times better, as traffic and the parking here is not the move. One of the what would be considered a con is lack of seasons. Some people really want all 4 seasons. I am not one of those people, but I can understand where they're coming from living in a 4-season city. One of the main criticisms about the weather is, oh my God, it's too hot, and it's hot all year. Honestly, how I deal with it, because I'm not a big fan of super hot weather either, unless I'm at the beach or on a boat or something. But what I do is I'll go out in the morning, I come home in the day and come back out about 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening when it's reasonable again. Now, another potential con about living in Miami is the cultural differences. This is a extremely Latin culture, and tons of Latin people live here. So therefore, if you are not used to living in a Latin city like Miami, it will probably be a huge change, especially if you're used to living in urban areas. You have Latin culture, and also there can be a language barrier from time to time, depending on what area you're in and what you're doing. Also, if you are a fan of places that play hip hop and R&B when you go out, like bars, restaurants, and other establishments in Miami, there are some, but they are not common at all. And the solution always is to go to Broward, where they are plentiful. But in Miami itself, yeah, you're gonna have to adjust to the Latin music and the EDM. To me, the sports bar scene is absolutely abysmal in comparison to other large cities, the Chicagos, the Atlantas, the New Yorks, even Dallas and Houston. But man, the sports bar leaves a lot to be desired here. All I'm saying is, if you are a fan of the NFL or the NBA, with the exception, of course, the Miami Heat or Dolphins game, don't really expect kind of a interesting crowd or even to hear the volume on the TVs if you go out, if they're playing the game at all, out of market. Now, if you are a fan of soccer or UFC, the sports bar scene is definitely for you. They say to make your next move your best move, and my decision to move Miami in December of 2021 was absolutely my best move. Now again, these are my personal experience and my perspective, and you may or may not agree. I would love for you to make a couple comments if you are either thinking about moving here, you already live here, or you lived here in the past. And if you've been inspired by this video to make a move to Miami, I got one word of advice for you. Don't. The rent is already high enough, the traffic is too much, and we don't have any room. We're closed. But in all seriousness, if you've made it to the end of this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the video and hit that little notification bell so that you can be notified every single time I drop a new video. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.